Come on. We will win. Because we will hit all game. We are motivated. We are dedicated. Come on now. Come on now. We will win. Because we are the best on the field. Then we hit the field like, all day like, all night like, on the blue light, offense like, defense like, his squad like, house call like, and it sound like, and it sound like, and it sound like.
Welcome to the Short Sports Show. I am your host, Daniel Short. Today is August 18th, 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We are back, and I'm excited. A little bit of a break, but we are back, and we've got a ton to talk about. Like always, we have more Baylor trouble. Of course, we can't have a show without talking about Baylor continuing to stay in trouble for past mistakes. Last Chance U star players are changing schools, and maybe they're fading off. Maybe they're not all that. 49ers wide receiver was suspended by the USADA and is apparently quitting his track career. Jaguars rookie running back called the NFL really easy. We'll see how easy it is. Also, could we be seeing the last of Roger Goodell as NFL commissioner? And finally, the Seattle Seahawks Bennett is sitting during the national anthem, and while more and more players are going to continue to make a stand. All that in this show. I'm excited. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and I am pumped to get this show started. Let's get it. As always, we're going to talk college football first. First up is Notre Dame and Wisconsin announced on Monday future games will be played at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Chicago's Soldier Field, which will mark the first meetings between the schools since a 3-game series back in 1962 to 1964. Now, the Fighting Irish and the Badgers will play October 2nd in 2020 at Lambeau Field, and then September 25th in 2021 at Soldier Field. NBC will broadcast the 2020 game, and the Big Ten controls the television rights to 2021 game in Chicago, so that really could go either way on which network gets that. Likely, of course, the Big Ten. Wisconsin, now, they opened up the 2016 season last year against LSU at Lambeau Field, and that was a really remarkable game in terms of the fan support that came out, and the overall game was, obviously really good. Now, it marked the first major college contest at Lambeau and the first college game since Fordham and St. Norbert's? Yeah, exactly. In 1983. Now, Notre Dame has played 12 games at Soldier Field, most recently against Miami in 2012. And how about the news that came out, I believe, yesterday, that Miami and Alabama are in talks to open the 2021 season against each other, I believe, in Atlanta. That would be huge. That would be a whole lot of fun to see those teams. Of course, that's several years down the line, but I'm assuming that we can go ahead and just say that Alabama's still going to be Alabama. And Miami, they're on the come up now, so they might be really, they should still be pretty good at that time. Baylor University continues to stay in the news for all the wrong reasons. The culture surrounding Baylor University and its football program not only affected how coaches and administrators handled allegations of sexual assault against players, but also kept the university from randomly drug testing its student athletes for marijuana and other recreational drugs, according to an upcoming book about the university's sexual assault scandal. This thing has tons and tons of information that apparently was kept on hold and just to make sure they can make profit of this book, which is even more sad. But the drug policy makes it one of the few major collegiate programs not to randomly drug test its student athletes, according to the book. Baylor Regents had no idea that the university wasn't randomly drug testing its student athletes until Pepper Hamilton was hired. Now, Baylor Regent David Harper said he was made aware of incidents of violence toward women, including the 2013 domestic violence allegation against former star defensive end Sean Oakman, which had been reported within athletes, but not to anyone outside the department. Now, according to a Baylor Regent and other administrators, its athletic department avoided random drug testing because the university's overall strict policy against marijuana use, in which one reported incident might lead to suspension for a semester, and a second incident could result in being expelled. So, of course, they didn't want that. Art Briles didn't want that, and he stepped right in when he found out that one of his players, Trevin Elliott, was going to be suspended for the entire season, and said, oh, wait a minute here. We need him. Of course, he also was part of the sexual assault scandal. So, good job, Art Briles. Now, since the university's strict conduct code might derail a student-athlete's career, athletic department officials didn't think that was fair to subject them to random testing. The NCAA, now, they don't require its member institutions to drug test its student-athletes, but if a school has a written drug policy, it is required to follow it under NCAA rules. The NCAA tests for street drugs and performance-enhancing substances at its championship events and does random testing at least once a year at its member institutions. A 2011 study by the AP found that 99% of the 56 FBS programs it surveyed tested its football players for marijuana and cocaine. New athletic director at Baylor, Mark Rhodes, said he was surprised to learn about the drug testing problems when he was hired to replace McCall in July of 2016. He told ESPN earlier this summer that the Bears already suspended a football player for testing positive. I don't know what else to say. Baylor continues to just stay in the news for all the wrong reasons, and it makes you wonder, what else did this program do behind the scenes? What else has not been told, maybe not even by the book? I don't know. It is a tough situation, and how any parent just says, you know what, son, I think going to this school is great for your future right now. I don't know the thought process that goes to athletes, student athletes, and their parents and their guardians to say that, you know what, Baylor's a good program for you to go to, because there are many other programs that are much worthwhile. Last Chance U stars are now transferring and somewhat fading away, possibly. Fan favorite Isaiah Wright, who was a running back at EMCC, announced he was going to West Georgia University. Well, he's no longer enrolled into the program, as he is now looking to go join his brother, who also played at EMCC, at Indiana University. Now, Isaiah Wright, again, a fan favorite. He finished his sophomore year with 483 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 69 carries, before eventually transferring to that D2 school at West Georgia. Now, he had other offers from Auburn, Iowa State, West Virginia, and several other FBS offers in Division I. Ultimately decided to go and pick West Georgia. Now, he's without a school, and he's looking to go and join his brother, who also played at EMCC, if you remember, back on Last Chance U, as they talked about. But, you know, Isaiah Wright, even though he's a fan favorite, I wish the best for him. I hope he's able to land a spot at Indiana University. He's not the only Last Chance U member that is not playing and is looking to transfer once again. John Franklin, who, I'll be honest, I did not like him, the way he acted and the way he talked towards other people. He is no longer at Auburn. He is going to be transferring. He'll be a graduate transferred, and he'll be able to play immediately. He has now chosen to go play with Lane Kiffin at FAU, Florida Atlantic University. Now this is now the second EMCC quarterback, former EMCC quarterback, to transfer to FAU with Lane Kiffin. As this season, from season 2, DeAndre Johnson is also at FAU. He enrolled during the spring, so he has the edge up, and it looks like John Franklin, even though he was a quarterback turned wide receiver at Auburn, will now remain at wide receiver and playing Kendall Briles' new offense for the Owls. I was, again, not a huge fan of John Franklin. And, Lane Kiffin, what you doing? Good job. Good job. Some other SEC news, former LSU quarterback Lindsey Scott, he has signed with, look at the segment. Of course, you guessed it. EMCC, East Mississippi Community College. Now, this guy, 5'10", 210 pounds, did not play it down for the LSU Tigers this past season in 2016. But this guy He was named Gatorade's Louisiana Football Player of the Year when his senior year in high school in 2015. He also led his high school to the 5A state championship, and winning that. He was the top-ranked quarterback in Louisiana, of course, and a 26th ranked dual threat quarterback for that cycle. He will now be likely the new big guy at EMCC. Unfortunately, we won't ever get to see it. Well, at least the action that we saw in Last Chance U, as they are moving out to a Kansas junior college. So thanks East Mississippi, but it was never going to be the same without, Brittany Wagner, the main OG. Vanderbilt might get a new stadium thanks to a Nashville investor group who is looking to bidding for a Major League Soccer team in an expansion franchise in Music City. If that happens, Vanderbilt is interested in sharing that stadium for their new football stadium. Now Nashville is one of 12 cities vying for a new franchise for the Major League Soccer expansion. And Vanderbilt Vice Chancellor David Williams was on hand Monday and confirmed the school remains interested in sharing that stadium. It'll be a 30,000 seat stadium for soccer, but they are going to be able to change it if they can come to an agreement to roughly 35,000, which is not the biggest, but let's face it, Vanderbilt doesn't really bring in a whole lot of fans themselves other than when Alabama comes to visit, and that's usually just crimson colored fans. Anyways, he said the stadium would hold between 33 to 35,000. Now John Ingram, a member of Vanderbilt's Board of Trust, recently recused himself, from the decision making on Vanderbilt's end regarding the stadium, saying, quote, "We would welcome the opportunity to have significant tenant in the building if that's something that Vanderbilt comes to the conclusion and that's the right thing for them to do," end quote. As you've seen pictures of the stadium, it does look very nice, of course. It's going to be a Major League Soccer stadium. Of course, it's going to look very modern, new, but honestly, it's not that far from Vanderbilt's campus, but Vanderbilt, the stadium they already have is nice enough. I would just keep it if I were them. But overall, it's still going to be a pretty nice stadium. Vanderbilt fans, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Would you want this new stadium as your own, even though you're kind of, sharing it as a tenant? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section. Also tweet me at Short Sports Show. Now, something a little bit different I wanted to add into the show. Now, of course, we're going to continue. Obviously, this is going to be sports related. And no, we are not moving to a political talk show. I did want to add this because it is, again, sports related. And just want to give other people's opinion on this. I thought this was pretty interesting. And we might include more sports business topics into the show. And I want to get your opinion on this. Now, a group based out of California, Courage Campaign, is demanding that Nike end its support of President Donald Trump. Now, the group is circulating a petition for calling the sportswear brand to relocate its flagship Nike Town store from New York City at Trump's Tower and end its financial support of Donald Trump completely. Now, while this has a really good chance of going viral, this story, a social analytics company, Brandwatch, said that it is unlikely to push Nike to make any decision anytime soon. Now, the petition already has more than 72,000 people have signed this already. And on the site it states, ESPN, Macy's, NBC Universal, and Univision and more have dumped Donald Trump and his hateful, bigoted rhetoric. It's time for you to do the same, but by not renewing Nike Town's 2017 lease with Trump Tower, end quote. Now, the group does make some really good points, and especially with Nike's past record with controversial topics with its endorsement athletes. I mean, you go back, it says, quote, Nike didn't blink before Manny Pacquiao for his remarks on same-sex couples. It cut ties with Maria Sharapova immediately after she announced that she failed the drug test. Now it's, but when Donald Trump calls women fat pigs, mocks a disabled reporter, calls Mexican criminals and rapists, and insults prisoners of war, Nike has done nothing, end quote. Now, this isn't the first time Nike has been in a similar situation with this group. Last year, the organization called the company, called on Nike to cut ties with Trump again after his 2005 Access Hollywood video where he spoke to Billy Bush about sexually assaulting women became public and it was leaked. Now, Nike ultimately signed a new lease with a non-Trump building nearby, but has not publicly commented on its plans for its current space in Trump Tower. Now, since Donald Trump took office, a number of brands, including Under Armour, Kellogg's, New Balance, have faced online outrage for being associated with him. Under Armour's president recently is cutting ties with Trump. He just made his statement a few days ago. Eddie Kurtz, who's the executive director of Courage Campaign, said, quote, Nike is a brand that boasts constant displays of dedication to diversity and inclusion. It's time for Nike to choose which side of history it will be on and end their support or financial support for Donald Trump and his companies. Anything less means that Nike is complicit in supporting Trump's insidious and racist agenda, end quote. There have been around 200 mentions of Nike associated with hashtag Dump Trump so far, with 180 of those coming on Wednesday alone, just shortly before this story came public. Now, Courage Capital's petition claims that Nike's lease with Trump Tower is worth over $200 million. So we'll have to see what Nike does here. But while I'm not persuading you to sign the petition, if you want to or you want to see more information on this, link is in the description down below to check it out. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and we'll see what Nike does forward with this and if the story goes viral. Moving on, we'll talk about the United States Anti-Doping Agency has suspended San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Marquise Goodwin for an entire year after he failed to provide his whereabouts 3 times during drug testing. But the San Francisco 49ers wide receiver said, well, that's fine because I'm quitting track and field. Now the USADA said in a statement that Goodwin received 3 whereabouts failures in a 12-month period. They request that information from a select group of athletes for out-of-competition drug testing. Goodwin's suspension began on April 1st, the date of his 3rd whereabouts failure. Now, again, Goodwin said in a statement that he already told the 49ers that he was quitting his track and field career to solely focus on playing wide receiver and his football career. But he did not tell the USDA nor anybody else, I guess, in track. And so that's why he eventually got suspended. He did say, quote, never in my life have I failed a test. More than a year ago, I decided to cease competing in a sport in order to concentrate 100% on my NFL career. Therefore, I discontinued all practices associated with competing in track and field, including submitting my whereabouts information, end quote. Now, only 26-year-old Goodwin, he failed to qualify to compete for the 2016 Summer Olympics, where he finished 7th in a men's long jump at the U.S. Olympic team trials in Eugene, Oregon, at the University of Oregon last July. He jumped 27 feet and 3/4 of an inch, more than a foot short of the winning jump by Jeffrey Henderson at 28 and 2 1/4 inches. Now Goodwin, who was with the Buffalo Bills throughout his career, he or at least during the time he competed in those trials, he eventually signed with the 49ers as a free agent, signing a 2-year, $6 million deal. And, maybe this is the best thing for him. Maybe he saw he just wasn't really going to increase any more stats for his track career. So he thought, you know what, this is where my money's at right now. And ultimately, you can't really blame the guy. Rookie running back Leonard Fournette caused a stir last week when he said, well, the NFL is just kind of easy, and that he praised the Southeastern Conference because of it. Now, the 3rd-year running back T.J. Yeldon agreed with him. He also played 3 years at the University of Alabama. Said, quote, playing in the SEC, the game speeds up. It's faster. It's kind of like the NFL. The NFL is a tad bit faster. I get where he's coming from with that comment, end quote. Now, rookie offensive tackle Cam Robinson, who also played at Alabama, he credited his games against LSU, Auburn, and Florida, and the rest of the SEC made a big difference for him, saying, quote, I feel like he was trying to say that was the speed of the game we played in college, just the talent in and game out that you're going against is so elite that the game is played at a fast pace. Now, Fournette, pretty good opening week. He set the comment after the Jaguars' victory over the New England Patriots, 31-24, in the preseason opener, where he rushed for 31 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries, saying, quote, "It's a lot slower than I really thought. That's how I've been since I first got into the NFL. A lot of people were like, it's going to be fast, but by me playing, the SEC, that kind of helped me a lot. I think to me, it was really easy," end quote. Again, it was just preseason, and I know a lot of the media has taken it by, he's saying, the NFL's easy, but we also got to think about it. Fournette's a different being out there. This guy is huge, and maybe it is easy for him. Of course, he's going to hear if he has one, even in preseason, if he has one bad game where, let's say, he rushes for 16 yards on like 12 carries or 8 carries or something like that, best believe you're going to have a handful of riders, more than a handful of riders, start saying, well, welcome to the NFL. So I understand what he's trying to say. Was it the right words to say that? I think to me it was really easy. Probably not. And I'm sure the PR staff and the coaching staff has already said, look, you probably shouldn't say all of this until you've played a full NFL game. But I mean, Leonard Fournette is a different creature. Maybe it is easy to him. Los Angeles Chargers linebacker Denzel Perryman was initially to miss 4 to 6 weeks after suffering a torn ankle ligament versus Seattle Seahawks this past weekend. Well, that has now become 8 to 10 week timetable. And of course it has. The Chargers have the absolute worst injury luck. It's just being a fan of the Chargers is one of the most frustrating things ever since really 2009. After 2009, it's just been downhill for us Charger fans. Now the long-term injury to Perryman would be another significant blow to the Chargers, as they've been hit with already multiple injuries this preseason alone. Perryman, who's only 24, was slated to be the LA's starting middle linebacker after recording 72 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception in 12 games. 11 of those were starts last season. Now, the Chargers are already without rookie wide receiver Mike Williams, who will miss the training camp while recovering from a lower back disc herniation. And then you also have rookie guard Forrest Lamp, a team's second-round pick, who has a torn ACL in his right knee and will miss the entire season. So your first round and second round draft picks are going to miss some time. Obviously, second round's missing the entire season. Mike Williams, God only knows if he will even play this season. Everyone's like, well, he'll miss the first 4 games, or he might go on the PUP list, and he'll miss the first 6 games, and then he'll be back. Then there's some people saying he might not play at all this season. I mean, what kind of luck, what kind of curse are the Chargers on right now? I won't go too much of a rant on here, but I'll just say this. I was in favor of the move to Los Angeles, but seeing how this team has proceeded with that and the moves they made ever since they made that stupid logo the first day, they have been literally the butt of all the jokes in the NFL right now. I think Cleveland has more fan support than the Chargers do. And that's obviously saying something right now. So I don't know. And then having your first game, I don't really care about the fan attendance, the preseason game. It's not that big of a deal. I don't really care for it. But, God, getting blown out like that doesn't help your case. It's just really looking bad for the Chargers right now. That's why I don't have any Chargers gear anymore. I just kind of have it all locked up and put away until that special moment we actually win more than 10 games or so. We'll see how that goes, of course. Now, when the NFL announced that Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott would be suspended for 6 games, people blew up. We were outraged. You want to know why, how, what was going on. Now, there are several sides to this puzzle, and it makes very intriguing. Part is the involvement or lack thereof by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. People familiar with this case and Elliott's inquiry tell Bleacher Report that keeping Goodell at a distance was paramount, not only because of the star power of the accused or the outsized influence of Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. We all know that this case is going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to be one of those things we will always remember and talk about in the future of how this goes, and the future, of course, of Roger Goodell as NFL commissioner. It's all going to play out here. Now, from the outset, these officials insist that NFL investigators knew their methods would face more scrutiny than the results. The NFL has seldom enforced a full 6-game suspension for domestic violence issues. Now, critics argue that this 3-year-old policy, introduced, of course, by Roger Goodell, in reaction to the video of Ray Rice punching his then-fiancée in the elevator. When that video came out, it was not only was too long to enforce, but it also ended up demeaning the women involved and putting public relations over progress. Now, officials inside and out of the NFL have complained for years about Goodell's involvement and his punishments in the end. His direct involvement with it have hurt the credibility of the perceived crackdown on these. Now, Elliott, who was never charged with domestic violence, a crime connected to the allegations that he used physical force on his ex-girlfriend over the course of a week in July of 2016, he, of course, has filed it for an appeal, and the NFL has 10 days from that date, which now probably, 6 or so, to set a hearing for that. Now, what I think is the biggest problem with this off-the-field issue, or actually off-the-field punishments by Roger Goodell, is that they've been on a scale that just doesn't make any sense. The range of punishments just do not make sense. Now, while I understand that every case is different, these punishments have just been so far-fetched and just ridiculous that the credibility of Roger Goodell, obviously him being pushed away from this makes sense, but still, it shows that there is no true leader from a commissioner of a league like Roger Goodell. Now, one of the things is why is it Josh Gordon lost his job because, of an indefinite suspension because he smoked weed. Now, again, he might have some other mental health issues, but again, he lost his job and his career because he smoked weed. Whether you believe marijuana should be legal or not is, your decision. But that's still a problem. Why does he get an indefinite suspension for something as small as smoking weed? He never hurt anybody. And Ezekiel Elliott gets 6 games for disputed facts of whether he struck a woman. And if you want to look at the opposite side, why is it that Josh Brown, Giants kicker, gets suspended for 1 game when he admitted to both verbally and physically abusing his wife, and only gets a 1-game suspension? While again, Ezekiel Elliott, with no true evidence and an inconclusive case right now, gets 6-game suspension. You see what I mean? The punishments just do not make sense here. Now, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones said in a pregame interview on Saturday before the preseason game, quote, "At the end of the day, we certainly support Zeke. At the same time, we understand the very, very, very serious nature of domestic violence. Certainly that people should be held accountable if that takes place," end quote. Now, PFT founder Mike Florio, he said this, quote, "On one hand, Jerry Jones is very influential owner. On the other hand, the NFL would have a very big PR problem." And they're kind of in that mix right now. Now, when in doubt, the NFL is going to lean toward making players sit out with lengthy suspensions, because even if there's no legal punishment, it's easier for the league to do just that, to just make kind of the case go away, and to so to speak. Now, of course, this case will not be going away anytime soon. And does Zeke he might even be able to play the first few games if this appeal can go on and on and on. He might not miss the first 6 games. Now, of course, I think Jerry Jones and the Cowboys might say, look, missing the first 6 games will be better than missing in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season if the appeal then ends. So we'll have to see how this plays out, but we likely could be seeing the end of Roger Goodell. In disagreement with that, I think we would all be okay if Roger Goodell is gone. I don't dislike. Well, I do dislike him. It's just I I don't know. I've never really been a fan of Roger Goodell, and not just because of this punishment, just and overall everything. I think the NFL has just been on the wrong side of decisions, or just have done it badly, I should say. The process in which they make a decision has been done so badly that it just looks bad on the NFL. Because, I mean, just think about this. The NBA gets a new commissioner. Fans love the guy. I love the guy. I think he's great. I think he's great for basketball, and I think he's going to help basketball get back to more popular like it was, because it kind of suffered a little dip for the past couple years. Major League Baseball, they love this new commissioner. He's doing great things for baseball. I like him. Those are the main sports I care about. I don't really know about hockey and all that other stuff. So, move to the NFL, which is the biggest league out of all of these in terms of fan support and just media attention, and no one likes Roger Goodell. How that shows you that he's not obviously doing things right. When everyone dislikes you, owners dislike you, fans dislike you. There's some correlation here. People are not just going to dislike you just because your title and how much you make a year, which, I mean, some will, but majority of people who have a thought process will be like, well, whatever, that's just what it is. When you're doing something wrong, people will dislike you. Roger Goodell is obviously doing something wrong. Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. Now, on Sunday afternoon, the Seattle Seahawks traveled to Carson, California to take on my Los Angeles Chargers, and they absolutely demolished them. It's tough being a Chargers fan. Now during the national anthem, defensive end Michael Bennett was not one for doing that. He sat on the bench while his other teammates locked arms for the national anthem. And he also didn't even tell his teammates or the coaching staff of his plans because he didn't want to be a distraction to the team. Now, after the 48-17 win over the Chargers, Bennett explained why he sat out the national anthem, and he confirmed that he will be sitting for every anthem in the 2017 season. This is what he had to say.
I think last week, with everything that's been going on the last couple of months, and especially after the last couple of days, seeing everything in Virginia, seeing what's going on out there, and earlier today in Seattle, I just wanted to be able to use my platform to be able to continue to speak on injustice. First of all, I want to make sure people understand I love the military. My father was in the military. I love hot dogs like any other American. I love football like any other American, but I don't love segregation. I don't love riots. I don't love oppression. I don't love gender slander. And I just want to see people have the equality that they deserve. And I want to be able to use this platform to continuously push the message of that, and keep journeying out and keep finding out how unselfish can we be as a society. How can we continuously love one another and understand that people are different, and just because they're different doesn't mean that you shouldn't like them. Just because they don't smell the way you smell, just because they don't eat what you eat, just because they don't pray to the same God you pray to, doesn't mean you should hate them. And whether it's Muslim, whether it's Buddhist, whether it's Christianity, wherever it is, I just want people to understand that no matter what, we in this thing together. And it's more about being a human being at this point.
Mike, what do you hope the end game is with the attention you put?
I hope that I can activate everybody to get off their hands and feet and go out to the communities and push helping each other, sit down with somebody that's the opposite sex, sit down with somebody that's the opposite race, different religion, understand that people are different, and go out and join your community and try to change your society, change what you're a part of. And if you don't like it, keep changing. And realize, let kids know that they got power. Just because you're an athlete and people say, hey, just because you're making money, you have this Nike endorsement, you have this endorsement, you're not a part of that society. At the end of the day, you are a part of that society. No matter where I go, I'm still a black man, and I can't get away from that. I can't get away from the past transgressions of America, what's happened. But what I want to do to be a part of is the change of kids, the change of society, and continuously push that.
Mike, you saw that Colin Kaepernick is not working right now because of the supposed backlash of him not standing up for the national anthem. You've spoken out in favor for him. Do you think you're going to face any backlash?
Of course I'm going to. Of course, I'm going to face backlash. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than football. This is bigger than anything that we have any different. This is about people. This is about bringing opportunities to people, giving people equality. This is bigger than a sport. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really take your accolades with you, but what you can do is leave a legacy that you can continuously give kids the seeds to be able to inspire. I mean, I don't look at myself as a role model. I look at myself as trying to inspire young children, young people of color, young people of different gender, or young people of different sex, whatever they are, to want to change their environment and continuously push whatever they think is right.
Michael, you spoke.
Now, Bennett has been an outspoken supporter for Colin Kaepernick, and when he started taking the kneel during the national anthem last season, Bennett has also talked about Cap being blackballed by the NFL or by the league itself. Now, Michael, along with his brother Martellus, never seem to shy away when it comes to making any type of comments that they feel is necessary and is right. They voice their opinion, which is absolutely 100% great. Now, continuing their trend with their actions, they've gone through with things now, and of course, Michael Bennett doing that. They're not the only ones. Former Seahawks teammate and current Oakland Raiders running back Marshawn Lynch was also seen seated during the national anthem prior to that game on Saturday, and he ended up saying that he actually has done this throughout his 11-year career, which I don't disagree with him, but I'm surprised the NFL never picked this up, or any media, not the NFL. Anybody just picked this up randomly, like, oh, he's not standing. Not like, again, I don't really care if you stand or kneel for it. But I just thought if something like this, if he's done throughout his 11-year career, someone would have just said, hey, that's unusual, because we really haven't seen it or heard or talked about it much. So when you see something brand new, you would think someone would bring it up. Now, one member of the Seahawks front staff told ESPN that he's okay with it, quote, as long as Michael is preaching love and not hate, end quote, in which he's done just that. He hasn't brought up any discrimination towards anybody. He's respected everyone, and as you saw in the video, nothing wrong out of it. He's not preaching hate whatsoever. It remains unclear when or if Kaepernick will get a shot to play this season, but if star players like Bennett and Lynch continue to sit during the national anthem, more players may join them, and that's exactly what happened. When the Chicago Bears played and the Philadelphia Eagles, Kyle Long was in support with was in support with Malcolm Jenkins of the Eagles, who raised his fist and said he will do that throughout the season as well. Again, they're preaching love, not hate. People are going to be mixed on this because likely you don't want to listen to the other side. And I think that's all it is. People are just not wanting to listen to the other side, already making judgments out of their head that one thing, if you support one thing, you automatically don't support the rest. It's a little ridiculous, a little childish by those people who think that way. I'm okay with these players who are voicing their opinion. We have always told people, we've always complained, if you think about this, we've always complained with celebrities who have a platform, they don't take a stand. That's always how it used to be. People would say, you have a platform, you have an audience, why don't you make a stand? Why don't you voice your opinion on this? And as soon as a celebrity or an athlete, professional athlete, do that, it's flipped upside down saying, stick to your music, stick to your sport, which is so stupid. I hate that argument. If you're like that, please do not like this show. Do not be a fan. Do not subscribe to here, because I'm not a person who would just stick to sports. If you think that way, it's ridiculous, because then you can just stick to your job profession, whichever that may be. If that's just a Twitter troll, just turn off your computer. That is it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed. We're going to add some new topics. We're also working on some interviews, actually. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to have some much more interviews as football season is just so close. Ladies and gentlemen, college football is right around the corner. It is right around the corner. I'm excited. NFL is right around the corner. Of course, thankfully, we have preseason. Well, okay, anybody else getting this? I just need to know. NFL Network, right? They say they're going to show preseason games, especially the ones, not the Game Pass. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones that when you're looking through your score ticker and it says this game will be on NFL Network, which is nationally, right? Unless you're in that area, then it might be, blacked out. For example, I live in Central Texas, not near Dallas, not near Houston. Central Texas, between Austin and San Antonio. Not close. Why? And last week they had, I believe it was the San Francisco Giants versus the Bears game, right? That was a preseason game. I believe that was what it was. That was going to be on NFL Network nationally. So I turn on NFL Network. Guess what I get? I'm blacked out, and it's showing a football live. And every game that's been on NFL Network, not the teams that are in Texas, so I'm not blacked out by it. They're showing a football live, and they're not showing the game. But everybody else is watching. I don't understand. I do not understand. So if you're having that same thing, please let me know that I'm not the only one here. So I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, or for listening, as well as watching on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe over there. We're almost at, we're almost at 1,500 subscribers over there. If you're listening on Spreaker.com, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, iTunes, give us a rating where applicable. I'll give you a retweet. I'll tweet at you. I'll follow you. I'll send you a shirt. If you do a rating, I'll send you a shirt. Make sure you screenshot it and tag me in it when you do. As always, God first, God bless, and I will see you guys next Friday morning. I'm out. Peace.